and welcome back to Forged. I am your host, Tracey Martin. This is our second episode, and I am so excited to talk to you guys about building upon what we talked about the first time of what Forged actually means. I gave the brief story of Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego going through the fire, but with Christ by their side, and learning that we're going to have to navigate this world with adversities and resilience and grit. And that's what we want to talk about. I have an incredible woman in with me in the studio with me, and she holds a very special place in my heart. Her name is Kim Jones. She is an IFBB Pro. She is a brain-based trainer and a functional medicine person. And I have to tell you that you meet people in your life that touch you in certain ways. And then there's other things. And we actually met in the gym. I was digging her shoes. That,
Right.
that, that was what broke the ice for me. But I want to encourage you that if something's placed on your heart to go talk to the person, just go. Don't question, just go. And I am so blessed, number one, to have you here with us, Kim. Number two, to have her in my life from so many different perspectives. I have learned, I have been humbled, but I want Kim to talk a little bit about just her background and yes, she has achieved many, many things. And the journey she's gone through that she's shared with me, I really want to share with you guys because I believe that there is so much power in sharing from a place of vulnerability, of realizing that we will all go through adversity. And I'm not talking about someone that's at this high level of athleticism or someone that is just dealing with life in general. Sooner or later, you're going to go through a fire. And are you equipped for that? So, Kim, I wanted to just dive in and ask you through your training as a trainer and out at UCLA and what you've done in that. What did you see that prepared you for life as you were coaching so many athletes, whether they were D1 or whoever they were? What did you see that kind of was like a common thread?
Well, it takes a certain caliber of person to compete at a division at any level in college, just next level athletics, college athletics. And oftentimes, because I looked so athletic my whole life, and before I lost all the weight, people would always ask me, "Hey, coach, where'd you play ball?" And it killed me that I didn't play in college. And so I had always walked into each training session with so much respect for these athletes because it's your job. So
Mm-hmm.
you're sacrificing a lot to have such a regimented schedule at such a young age and deal with coaching staff that you may or may not get along with. You may be getting playing time. You may be putting in all the work and all the reps, but aren't seeing the court, aren't seeing the field, but you're still showing up every day. So there's a level of resilience that I respected with these athletes, level of discipline, commitment, and because I liked basketball, I didn't love it, and they also had this passion for the game, whatever it was that gave them to the will to be at weights at 6 a.m. or uh, just kind of have to make the sacrifices you need to in regards to what you're missing out on because you have a game, you have a
Right.
practice, or you have a tournament. So I just think the resilience, the discipline, the love, and the passion, despite that, what you have to go, the training and how hard it is and how much you get beat up,
Yeah.
but they show up every day. And it's just incredible to
Do you think
watch.
there's a difference? And I know we talk about mindset a lot, right? We
Yeah.
talk about mindset. We talk about whether it's just in the gym at a normal person wanting to hit a certain, a certain type of a level of fitness, whatever that fitness is for them,
Yeah.
versus an athlete or an elite athlete or a high caliber athlete. What do you think that because one of the things that we talk a lot about is disappointment, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think this is going to happen, but this happens. And it's like that level of deciding either to continue and take courage or to be discouraged. And so what did you see that really kind of shifted for you as you've done this through the years? What's the difference? What do you think the difference is from someone? Is it training? Is it life experience? Is it within them and it's a natural essence that they have, or is it intentional?
That's a really good question. I think for some people it's natural and you can't coach it. You can't coach it into somebody. So you could hire somebody if you're general pop, and you have to want to get up early if you have a 6 a.m. training session or what have you. So I think to be in the gym and be consistent with your training at that level, just having fun recreationally, is very different because there's no championship there. There's no conference title. So I think sometimes it's just having the proper goal at the right time.
So the average person doesn't have a marker, really.
No, and it's you're on a you're kind of on this treadmill that just kind of keeps going if you don't have a goal, one specific goal.
Right.
And I look at things because I've been coaching so long on an academic kind of schedule, semesters, right? So think 16 weeks. If you don't have a goal for 16 weeks or 12 weeks, then you burn out because
Yeah.
you're chasing this thing, but you don't know what it is.
Right.
And so what do you achieve? If it's if it's bodybuilding, you get on stage. If it's I don't know, 12-week weight loss challenge, then it's that final result. But I think a lot of people just go to the gym with they're not following a program. They're just going there. They don't even know what they're
Mhm.
hitting before they walk in the gym. I think it's just random. And that's why a lot of people fall off is
Yeah.
because it's not that one specific thing. And it can change,
Yeah.
but there's really no target they're trying to hit.
No, and I think
Too
too,
broad.
I think that we don't have it's interesting when, like, the work that you do and the work that I do, it's interesting because people always say, and this is just my observation, and you may say, T, you're wrong, but I believe that people only change for 2 reasons.
Okay.
Either they have gone through pain so much that they don't have an option not to, or they have that natural innate ability to rise above whatever adversity is. It seems like people can't get out ahead of something. It's like the guy that's being told you're one cheeseburger away from a heart attack.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, maybe I should bypass In and Out today."
Yeah.
Right? It's like you have that somebody's told you something's wrong. I don't think very many people, and I don't like that I think this way,
Yeah.
but I don't think very many people possess the ability to train for life,
Yeah.
to navigate life. And so if you think about it, we lift, move, stretch, turn every single day, and we're not training for functionality and mobility of life in general. And then when you get older, so the reason why I wanted to bring that up is that um, Kim really faced a big fire in the last 8 months.
Almost a year. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I want that segue in is because I believe that you prepare even not knowing what's coming. The stronger that you are mentally, physically, emotionally, when you walk through something like you did, you walked through it as a warrior for life in general. And I don't think people have that unless they've gone through something or they're born with it. And I could be wrong. And I do hope sometimes I am wrong because I want to know that if I'm, a certain age, I can still functionally move through my life, whether that's physical or emotional, right? So can you share with, like, what the mindset was as you were going through up until that point to where you knew something was wrong?
Yeah. So it's interesting because in my situation, because I had developed head and neck cancer, I was quote unquote doing everything right. I
Mhm.
was trying to get ahead of things because I didn't want to have some sort of disease, uh, be experience some sort of disease growing up, and it's I quote unquote thought I was doing everything right. So getting my morning sun, grounding, sleep. I was very diligent about stress mitigation. I meditated, food, nutrition, movement. I thought I was checking off all the boxes, and it still happened. That was a huge reality check. But I think that from an emotional perspective, there's definitely some things that I was still working on that I didn't get ahead of. So some trauma just from when I was younger and emotionally not really feeling like I could really speak up for myself, and then have that kind of bleed into other areas and relationships in my life, professionally, personally, what have you, and then have the disease manifest in my tongue. There's a connection there. So
Yeah.
in one aspect, I was preparing for life and not kind of falling ill to some sort of ailment. And in another sense, I wasn't because
Right.
there was some yeah, some just personal traumas that I was dealing with, and it took me kind of getting on my knees and like asking for help a few
Who'd you
years ago.
ask who'd you ask for help from?
Well, to kind of prepare me for what I went through now, let's just kind of rewind back to 2017, 2016. Didn't have a strong relationship with God and didn't have a spiritual anchor at all. Going to private schools my whole life, K through college, and like still didn't have that. But falling to my knees and just asking God, like I don't even know who I was asking, but I think because of my schooling, I think I was asking God, but I was like, I can't do this alone. I need help.
Mhm.
So I think that helped prepare me for just the experience of dealing with cancer and treatment and failed treatments when I tried to do things naturally in Mexico. And leading up to me getting my first serious symptom in March, the best thing I can say is I think I'm answering your question.
No, you're good.
I'm kind of going through the past and the present, but I I thought I was trying to approach life in the best in the healthiest way possible. Spiritually, emotionally, physically. I thought I was checking all those boxes. So leading up to it, I was shocked. And then the last thing I'll say is it was so March 13th, 2023 is when I saw the first symptom that was different, which was that my tongue kind of swelled up. And yeah, like prior to that, um, I was doing acupuncture. Yeah, I kind of just thought I was doing everything right. I had a thought and I lost it too. I'm so sorry. But
No, it's okay.
um,
So let me ask you this though. So whenever we, because here's what I see as a person that was observing this.
yeah,
You and I have talked a little bit about, and when you say you had trouble speaking up for yourself,
yes,
you know,
yes.
so how did what did that look like when you say that? Because it's
So
different for everybody.
it's 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 fascinating because if you ask any of my former athletes, I have no problem speaking up. If you're late to the weight room, if you don't have on the right gear, if you're not putting in the work, if you're dogging it, I will speak up. But I had this kind of I had this demeanor when I was coaching that didn't translate in life. And so whether it be in relationships and not speaking up for what I needed, that would be how it showed up in my life.
Can you label that
Gosh, I mean,
when you say a demeanor, like
I had this presence of strength and leadership that didn't show up, like I said, in relationships, whether I had an issue professionally,
mhm.
took me a while to learn how to speak up for myself and be okay with confrontation. But it's funny you asked, could I label that? But I think because it was so automatic
Right.
in one part of my life, but it was only a small percentage. For the rest of my life, yeah, I didn't have that confidence. I didn't have that strength. I don't think I valued myself enough and my needs enough to be comfortable speaking up for myself and what I needed. And even like little things. If somebody kind of, when I was competing and uh I had more mass, there's times where people would say, I think confuse me for a dude, you know? And
There's no way.
no, I mean, well, it's like on the phone or
Yeah.
like, hey man, or hey mister, can I, and even just not saying, checking people like that, like little things. Tracy, I don't even know why I could have two different personas like that,
But
but
do
that was
you
my life.
let me ask you this, do you think it was 2 different personas, or do you think that it was a protective mode from that softer side of you?
Oh, the softer side, yes, because that's what going through this cancer experience has done is it softened me. It has softened me up, and I've worked with my guide. I do plant medicine just to help with some of my traumas, and one of my guides, our goal was to try to balance that masculine that I had in the weight room with a more feminine side because I felt like I was staying in the masculine too much. And though I was working on that, I didn't fall into the softer side.
Mm,
This softened me up
yeah.
like no other. I'm just from an emotional standpoint. I'm a completely different person now, and it'd be interesting to see if I could even have that same level of masculinity in the weight room right now. I think I would even approach the weight room differently right now
Yeah.
based on what I've been through.
So where do you think
Yeah,
the crossroads is? You trained for, and I mean, I watched you go through this battle.
yeah.
Um, I have to say honestly, if you weren't in the condition that you were in, it would have been worse, I think. Your physical strength, your skeletal muscle that you possess, that you had, um, everything that you've gone through, your mentality, your mindset. So, I think whenever we talk about stuff like this, it's like when you look at every single thing that God gave you, it served you. Do you agree or disagree?
I do agree. Um, yeah, I just am kind of getting emotional about, just the different states that you saw me and like how bad I was. But no, I would agree with that. And I think that trying to, I think it's easy when you're healthy
Mhm.
to be able to say, yeah, you have to have a positive mindset and you want to be on this
Right.
positive, vibrational frequency. But, when you've got chemo pumping into your system and you're fatigued physically and mentally, and you don't even recognize yourself in the mirror, it's challenging
Mhm.
to be able to still tap into your faith and believe that there's something valuable coming on the other side of it because it's fight or flight.
Right.
So you're in it. That executive function to be able to look forward is hard. It's possible to access it, but you talk about forged. I mean, I also think that if I didn't have my faith, let alone the muscle and
Right.
the lifestyle, if I didn't have my faith, I don't even know if we'd be having this conversation because during my last oncology appointment, I didn't want to know the stage because I didn't want that to impact
Your
my
thoughts.
thought. Yeah, but
Yes.
I asked because I'm doing so much better now, and he said stage 4B. Stage 4B. That's how serious it was. And my faith was huge in getting me through. Even when there was moments when it was hard to even process coherent thoughts. And my memory was fading me, and I felt like I just couldn't really find words to say. I think that my faith, 100%, has got me where I am right now.
Yeah. And I think that's too when you think about the crossroads between the physical and the mental and the spiritual, right? It's like we can prepare for something, and that's why literally why I wanted this podcast to be forged is because
Yeah.
when we understand that when we walk through that fire, but you didn't go alone. You
No.
didn't go alone.
No.
I mean, and
No.
and and not only that, I think it gave the people around you an opportunity to show up for you. So what does that look like?
Oh, that was amazing. And when we talk about speaking up, and I was saying even the little things I was unable to speak up about, asking for help. I thought I was going to be able to beat this on my own. Obviously, with care of doctors at the
Right.
facility that I went to, but I thought that I had the capacity to do it on my own. And even before I went to the hospital, I was asking for help more often. I had people coming over. I would ask in regards to meals if I needed help with that. And in the hospital, asking people to pray with me before they left, just speaking up for whatever I needed. I and the social component was huge. I mean, you were there that one day. I think it was the second or third day into chemo, my second round, and I could barely swallow my own saliva. I mean, that's how inflamed my throat was, and
Mhm.
wasn't really eating much. Was just kind of doing tube feeds, and the anxiety was through the roof because there's this threat of not being able to breathe. And you came by, and your husband Tom was there, and just your presence there. I mean, I was still pretty bad after you guys left, but felt so much better. I mean, it wasn't like a this miraculous thing, and I was jumping out of bed feeling
Right.
100% better. But I remember just your presence and your energy helped a ton, and the amount of visitations I got was amazing. I mean, I think that was a huge component too. Was just having because I was there for 6 weeks, so just being able to have people there. Thank you. Being able to have people there and just give me feedback. Hey, your
Right.
color's back. You're looking better, or
Right.
what have you. Was vital. Was
So
vital.
so when you think about that though, Kim, I mean, It's interesting whenever we look at the physical state of, our world in general right now. And your one particular experience that you went through, it gave so many people around you an opportunity to show up for you.
Yeah.
Did you see asking for help as a weakness?
I just think I was so bullheaded. I don't even know where this comes from. I just felt like I could do stuff myself. Um, and I don't think it was a sign of weakness per se. Maybe subconsciously it was, but I've been talking about the socialization components. I can't leave out my brothers. One of my brothers passed away 10 years ago, but my other brothers were there too. And I wasn't even really asking them for help.
Mhm.
Um, so I can't really explain where that stems from, but I've learned that it is not a sign of weakness, and I'm way faster to pull the trigger when I do need help. Where in the past I would think about it, ruminate, and think I'll just do it myself. I don't. Maybe it was maybe not wanting to bother people. I'm not really sure,
Okay.
but I'm just way more confident and okay with asking for help right now, for sure. I think in the past, if it was asking for physical help, it was a sign of weakness
Yeah.
because I wanted to make sure I always had strength to do stuff. But
Right.
otherwise, no.
The emotional
The
part of it.
emotional part, yeah.
So where are you with your faith now?
Gosh, right now it's stronger than ever. I think that nothing's changed in regards to my belief in God, and I believe God is within all of us. But sometimes it's hard to just be able to know how to access that.
Mhm.
But it's strong, and on a daily basis, I'm getting up every day and I'm thanking God. I always say, "What are three things you're thankful for?" And I'm thanking Him every single day. So I think nothing's changed in that I'm just more clear headed now, and just cognitively, I'm sharper. And so, like, meditation is easier now, and I think that's helpful too. But yeah, I think that y- things that you've helped me with, and I have people come to my house and pray over me, and I have people that text me different types of Bible verses that I can look up to kind of further,
I like that.
like, harness the strength that I need
Mhm.
to continue because I'm still in this journey, but
Yeah.
it's very strong right now.
What did you learn about yourself through all of this?
I think that I always knew that physically I was strong, but just to go through some of the excruciating, like the pain that I've been through during my treatment, just the mental strength. I guess I didn't realize that I had that amount of strength, and I don't really, yeah, I knew my faith in God was strong, but gosh, there were just times where looking back, I just don't know how I did it, and I think it was just the faith, and then God giving me that mental capacity to be able to stay in it,
Mhm.
because there were times when it was hard to stay in it, and if I would have lost my life, I probably would have been okay knowing it was going to end because I knew the suffering would end. But I was able to forge through multiple fires, and so yeah, I think I just didn't. Gosh, I just looking back, I didn't think I had that mental capacity.
Yeah. Well, I think your perspective though too, Kim, it's like when you are looking at what you perceive as you're facing, you don't have any of the details. You don't have any of the way of measuring things, and that's why I love when you talk about the resilience, the grit, the mental capacity,
Yeah,
the mental fortitude, because when we're it's like somebody going to battle, right? It's like these young men that take on and they go, over in another country and they fight. They only get that perspective and that beautiful knowledge and knowing on the other side,
right,
right? It's like we
right,
can prepare people only so much, and that's the reason why I think the physical part of it prepared you to sustain, if that's a good word to use here, I'm not sure, but to sustain what you had to go through. And then leaning on Christ for the mental and the emotional part of it,
Right.
because we don't know what we're made of until we are faced with this.
Absolutely. And I had that fortitude and that grit and all of that to train as a professional bodybuilder. But you know what to, like you said, you know what to expect on that journey of getting to the stage and, getting to remission. That journey and that mission, I didn't know what to expect. And then you do know because you've been through the first round of chemo. And then you're thinking, well, what's that second round going to be? And you have to prepare for that.
Right.
It's like preparing for anything else that I did in the past, whether it be training or what have you, going through radiation and that experience. It's just kind of, and not knowing what that was going to be like and the trauma that came from that experience. It's just, I've learned I'm stronger than I thought I was. I thought I was pretty strong, but I'm
Yeah.
realizing I'm a lot stronger mentally than, yeah, I thought I was.
Yeah, and I think too, I think the bond now that you have with your brothers,
Yeah.
I think that that was one of God's blessings
Yeah.
that came out of this. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody would want anyone to go through something like this. But and that's why I think that talking about things like this, and I appreciate Kim so much your vulnerability. I know this is not easy. And I know that it's grabbing that conversation and being able to talk about it, because there are so many people right now who go through life and who either think they can handle it, but they're not sure. But when they get in the fire, it literally is your faith. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember the one day we talked about it and you were having a difficult time, and I took off my bracelet
Oh, yeah.
and I gave
Yeah.
it to you, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Here's
I'm
your."
ready.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is the armor, right?"
Yeah.
It's like the armor of God. It's like so what did you lean towards? Or, like, was it reading of the Bible on daily? Was it small snippets? Was it I know as far as, like, you didn't leave your house a lot, things
Yeah.
like that, like, what was that actually fed you at that point?
So are you saying once I got out of the hospital or before I went to the hospital?
Both.
Ooh, before I went to the hospital, I was just holding on to life, to be completely honest. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't meditating. I had to have my trainer take care of my dog, so I didn't have that responsibility, but I was like a slug on the couch. I had no energy, no mental, physical capacity to do anything. So nothing was happening at that point. I was in fight or flight. But after I left the hospital, and even in the hospital, because chemo just leaves this like fogginess, it was tougher in the hospital, but I just tried to pray.
Mhm,
I would try to pray. I would listen to Christian music, and those are probably on my own the two best ways I could try to connect with God. And then once I got out of the hospital and I was home, it was the same. It was still just waking up, trying to look at what I did have. I had lost so much,
mhm,
everything in my opinion, but I still had my life. And so I would kind of start to look at stages
mhm,
where I was before I went. So to frame it, where I was in June and July versus August,
mhm.
and those 6 weeks in the hospital, and how much and how far I had come. And that's kind of what I had to do to forge, through that fire is kind of, even though it's hard,
Mhm.
it, it was hard at that point to be grateful for stuff. Yeah, I had to.
Right,
And I think it was the grace of God that I was able to kind of be clear headed enough to be grateful for the little that I did have, which ends up being a lot in the grand scheme. I have my life, I
right.
have my brothers, I have my friends, I've got a place to live. So just kind of just talking to God was the, the best way I could reach Him, to prayer. And I'm still trying to get better with the Bible. And I do have you, and I have friends that have given me multiple things to look up and read. And I'm not doing it as often as I would like to, but that's a work in progress. And I'm okay. I'm also better at giving myself grace at
Yeah,
things too. And I'm giving myself grace for that, because I do feel that you said this earlier, when it's on my soul and I feel called to, I'll look at the Bible and I'll kind of start there. And I think
right.
as I do that more often, it become more of a routine and a habit.
So where you are now, babe, when you look back at, like, what you've done, and I know we've talked about, like, putting things in perspective. So and I don't wanna be insensitive, but Kim 2.0, like where you are right now, what does that look like when you audit that for yourself?
Mm. Well, definitely softer. 1.0 wasn't crying this much about about anything. So, yeah, softer and okay with people seeing the softer side.
Mhm.
I think that was the main thing before is that I was working on the softness when I was working with my guide, but was still wanting to have a certain kind of look, that demeanor that I was carrying from the weight room in all aspects of life. But what does it look like? Yeah, I'm softer. I think also I'm, gosh, I would say once, I don't know, once I get back to work, I think my approach towards, we talked about balance isn't a good word, but isn't the best word, but like being able to have my work life and my personal life healthier.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna be 1,000 times better at that because, oh, my train of thought is coming back. That's what I was gonna bring up earlier is that stress.
Mhm.
I had a very stressful spring and a very stressful fall prior to me seeing that first symptom in March. And so I think it came from not having that healthy type of integration of play
Right.
and work. And I think I'm gonna be a lot better and very diligent about that this time around because stress is a killer too. You could have the best
Absolutely.
lifestyle on the planet, but if you're not handling that, that's how disease can manifest as well. So I think those are probably the two biggest things being the softer side and letting people see that and not being okay with that. I know it's not gonna I don't care how people perceive it. And if they think I'm weak, that's fine. But I'm more
Oh,
comfortable
you're
with
not, darling.
it. Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that. And also just taking time for me, which I had a hard time doing before. Is taking time for me, taking time off and letting myself recharge. I think I know I'm gonna be a lot better at that too in the future.
Yeah, we talked about like the function of what you do, right? The function of as a coach, whether it's physical training or like the brain-based training, which I love that you and then even the vision training.
Yeah,
I mean, and I want to put all this stuff into our show notes because I think the brilliance of what you do is so necessary and it's something that we don't think about, right? Because we think about the physical stature of our body, what our body looks like,
yeah,
but yet we don't think about the brain and the vision and everything that actually that's the reason how your body can look that
for
way,
sure.
right? We
Yeah.
don't look at that. So where do you think for you that emotional crossroads or the trauma crossroads and the physical crossroads, where do you think that was for you during that time that you were dealing with this?
Like what were the crossroads?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So like when you said a few minutes ago, you said there was some trauma that you weren't
Oh
dealing with,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yet there was a strong physical strength and
Yes,
presence.
yes.
So do you think there's a crossroads there?
Gosh. Well, yes, yes, because I'm at the crossroads right now because and I'm not putting blame on anybody, but I didn't have the best relationship with my mom growing up and our dynamic is what kind of created the foundation of me kind of not feeling comfortable speaking up for myself. And I'm at the crossroads right now because I'm in the process of meeting up with I haven't seen my mom since I left from California in 2020. And there's been a few texts, but we really have not been in contact. And so I believe in regards to my cancer and the healing that needs to be done, that there are some things that I need to speak with her about.
Mhm.
More so that happened kind of before I left
Right.
that other people know about because I've expressed it, but I've never really expressed it to her. And I think that I'm at that crossroads right now in that I'm facing something head on. And regardless of what the outcome is, just knowing that I'm ready emotionally to have that conversation is huge because I was living my life as if that was going to be what our relationship was, which was something that wasn't existing.
You accepted
I
that.
accepted that,
Mhm.
and that still may be the case in the future. I don't know, but I'm at the crossroads right now, and that I'm taking a step in that direction to have a very crucial conversation with her, and hoping that at least she can hear me, regardless of what happens afterwards, if she can at least receive what I have to say, it'll feel good, regardless of what our relationship is after that.
Yeah. So what do you think if you had a message after you've gone through all this kind of stuff and just the whole dynamic from start to finish, from getting the information, from the internal dialogue that you had in those quiet moments when it was just you and God,
Yeah.
and that what would you want to leave people with after going through this? What would that like what's the most powerful thing for you?
Hmm. Well, I agree with that statement you made earlier about change and what needs to happen for people to change. And for me to embrace the softer side, and for me to learn how to ask for help and speak up for myself, I had to go through this experience. And so, though it's hard, you have to look at, I don't believe in the same things happen for a reason. What I believe in is that things happened and we have to learn from them and
Mhm.
we have to figure out how to process it and how we learn from it moving forward. And I think the best advice I can give is that when you're in it, and it's not like I wasn't asking why.
Right.
Like, why does this happen? Like, I
Yeah.
thought I was. It's okay. You're gonna have the mind's gonna kind of the thoughts are gonna come, but you kind of have to look at just what's gonna come from this. Like, what beauty could possibly come from the situation, and what is God trying to tell me in regards to what I'm missing? Because sometimes you gotta, you gotta get pushed on the ground and
Yeah.
kind of pinned down and have somebody shake some sense into you for you to
Yeah.
understand what needs to change in your life. And that's what the cancer did for me. So though it's hard, you have to look for the positive.
Yeah.
You have to find gratitude in something, because even if it's the fact that for me I was still alive, that was something. But yeah, that's the best advice I can give, is you have to find that gratitude. You have to be thankful still, and you have to kind of somehow look in the future and think, like, what could possibly actually be better in my life because of this moving
Right.
forward?
Right. What can you create and build from
What can you
here
create? Yeah, what kind of
at
future
this point?
can I actually create
Right.
that's maybe less stressful or more fulfilling? And
Yeah.
there's definitely always kind of a message there. You just have to find it.
Yeah, no, I love that. There is a message because and I think that's what I see with people today is that don't have that skill set to actually rise above that. They stay in that victim mindset, and that can create a whole different outcome for people going through something like this.
You're not going to heal.
No.
You're not going to heal.
Well, I
No.
don't know how you could at that point because it's like you don't have that's just that strong because God shakes whatever can be shaken, right? My Bible study teacher says it all the time. And he shakes whatever can be shaken. And so when you realize that the strength, and I have to say, you are probably one of the most strongest women I have ever met in my life, Kim,
Thank
ever met in my life. And I mean that from just not just the physical strength, but I mean that from such a mental strength and to know and to witness this. You have so much love to give.
Thank
You do. And you have so much. And I think that the opportunity that God's given you right now is saying, "Hey, Kim, there's a whole nother part here,
you. Yeah.
that we haven't even tapped into." And that's why when people say things like that, when I said it a little bit ago, I don't want it to come off as insensitive because I mean, I didn't go through what you went through, but I witnessed it.
Yeah. You were there.
I mean, but my God, look at you now,
Yeah. I,
right?
it's almost like I'm feeling better than I've felt since before I got sick. And sometimes I kind of marvel at, because I'm still healing. I still have wounds from tumors and stuff, but I have this feeding tube, which which I can't stand. I've got a port. I've got this medical hardware installed, and I still feel good. And sometimes it's just funny. I can actually feel as good as I feel,
Yeah.
knowing that I'm not done yet.
Oh, no,
There's
you're
still
not done.
yeah, there's still work to be done from a cancer perspective, the healing perspective, and there's more work to be done on a personal and professional level too. But it's interesting. I got so many text messages and Instagram DMs, Coach, or like, Kim, you're the strongest person I know. And
Mhm.
it was always at moments where I didn't feel that strength. it was so helpful to have that be reinforced, especially when I was feeling so weak and fragile and frail. But I appreciate you making that statement because it was statements like those that kind of got me through some pretty rough moments.
No, I know. And I just have to say, I mean, the work that you do, whoever is blessed to work with this woman in the future, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. And I mean that, babe, because I know you are building, you are creating, and you are going to come back at such a powerhouse, but a connected to the softer side powerhouse,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
think we all have to do as women, especially in the coaching
for
industry,
sure.
right? We all
Yeah,
have to figure that out.
yeah,
And you've had that opportunity now. But I thank you so much for your time. And we're
happy
going to put all of Kim's information into the show notes, but just think about your daily life and if you have the grit and the resiliency, and if not, can you reach out to Christ and actually have that reinforcement and reach out to people around you, whether it's family that you've not been connected to for a while or whether it's friends or whatever it is. People do want to help and they do want to see you succeed and they do want to see you rise above whatever situation you have. So I love you. I'm so
love you too.
grateful. And please, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode and we will see you next time.